Hi and welcome to my channel which treats about international politics. Usually I post my videos in my mother tongue, that is Polish, but this time I decided to use English. I decided to use English because I think it's about time for us, people living in Central and Eastern Europe, to be more open about how we perceive the world. One of the most difficult tasks that Europe has to overcome in order to keep the status of global superpower is to become more cohesive, especially when it comes to the flow of information. The West has to understand the East and the East has to understand the West. If it doesn't happen, considering the accelerating changes in international order, we are kind of doomed. So in my first video in English, I would like to address the issue of Nord Stream 2, a pipeline that tells us a lot about the state of our supposedly united Europe.
Nord Stream 2 is a second line of gas pipeline that connects Russia and Germany. The biggest problem with this pipeline is that it goes under the Baltic Sea, bypassing Ukraine and Poland. Let's be clear, there are already means to transport gas from Russia to Western Europe that are more than sufficient. So why Russians and Germans are expanding infrastructure in such a way?
Let's answer this question from Russian side first, because it's much simpler.
If second line of Nord Stream is completed, Russia will be able to pour cheap gas directly to Western Europe. You can ask, okay, but what's wrong with cheap gas and who cares where it comes from? But, well, it would be really short-sighted point of view, because the gas would be cheap as long as Russia benefits from it in other way. For example, by gaining political leverage, but making Western economies dependent on their product. Countries that are bypassed by the pipeline will be in extremely difficult position. Because of historical conditions, countries east to Germany get most of their gas from Russia. With Nord Stream 2, Putin or his successors can blackmail those countries. Russians will be able to shut down the pipelines that go through Ukraine, keeping the connection with Western Europe intact. Fortunately, in Poland, we realized some time ago what it means to be in such a position, so we have built the gas terminal in Świnoujście for LNG, and we are building Baltic Pipe, gas connections with Denmark. However, Ukraine, well, that's much more difficult. With using gas as a mean to blackmail, I'm not trying to predict the future, I'm describing reality as it is, because it already happened. Earlier this year, Ukrainian officials had to encourage people to lower the temperature in their homes because Russians decided to cut them off from the gas. We'll come back to Ukraine in a second, but first, let's focus on the other end of the Nord Stream 2, Germany.
Describing Russian goals behind Nord Stream 2 is easy, we could list at least few more. But Germany? Why are you doing this?
When German politicians try to explain Nord Stream 2, they always say that it's purely business project. Yeah, because building freaking pipeline, especially with Russia, is business like every other. Energy is politics. Anyone who denies that simple claim is wrong. Second thing that German politicians always say when asked about Nord Stream 2 is that they want to diversify their gas supplies. Well, maybe I was wrong, but I always thought that diversification means more connections with different suppliers, not building more connections with country that already is your biggest gas supplier.
No matter what German politicians say, Nord Stream 2 is not a business project. It's a purely geopolitical project calculated to divide Europe. It's not about business. It's about ever-present in German politics urge to flirt with Russia. It always ends bad, especially to nations living between them.
It gets really embarrassing for Germany considering how they are involved in Ukraine. From the beginning of Ukrainian conflict with Russia, German leaders were condemning Putin for his actions. So let's ask the obvious question. If you acknowledge the fact that Crimean Peninsula was annexed not lawfully, if you acknowledge that Russia is behind war in Donbass, if you acknowledge that Russian warships had no right to open fire and seize Ukrainian ships on the Black Sea, if you portray yourself as a Ukrainian ally, how can you enter such a project as Nord Stream 2? German soft power is all built around being the beacon of liberal democracy in Europe. Well, now for many people that image is gone. German credibility suffers a lot because of the project that they don't really need.
For some people in Western Europe, it sometimes seems profitable to sacrifice relations with nations living behind the Baltic and Black Sea in order to have strong relations with Russia. Look at the size of this country, it has to be so powerful. Well, this is a topic on a whole another episode, but let me just now say this. The view from distance can be really misleading.
But leaving Russia behind for now, let's focus on Central Europe. The tale about poor and underdeveloped countries of Central and Eastern Europe is really outdated. For example, did you know that according to Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, Germany's biggest trading partner is Weisgard Group. Germany's trade with Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic and Slovakia in 2016 amounted to 257 billion euros, and for example the trade with France, with roughly the same number of people as Weisgard Group, amounted to 167 billion in the same year, and with Russia less than 60 billion. Wake up, Germany, you have great partners on the East, and it's really not Russia.
We need each other. The West needs the East and the East needs the West. The sooner we realize that when it comes to strategic decisions we need to be united, the better for our continent.
What really pisses me off is that German politicians and EU officials have their mouth full of slogans about European solidarity and more cohesive Europe, while allowing or participating in project that is calculated to undermine that. European Union is powerless when it comes to blocking Nord Stream 2, and it's really sad. Why do we need European Union? In order to influence social order in member states? In order to dictate the one and only right way to organize every aspect of our lives?
No! We need European Union because no country on our continent can handle dealing with China, US or Russia on their own. We need EU to protect the strategic interest of our continent, and as Nord Stream 2 shows, it doesn't work right now. We cannot allow any external power to divide continent once again, because if it happens, we'll all lose. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more of this kind of videos, and hopefully see you next time.